Hello and welcome to the Magical Learning Podcast. As you can see by our description, we have a wonderful guest, Tracy. I would love to ask, because we always like to start this way, how's your week been so far?
It has been magical. So I am in Western Queensland in Miles, which is about 3 hours west of Toowoomba, and off to Stanthorpe next. So loving life. Beautiful.
I love that because I'm down in freezing cold New South Wales on a farm and it is cold today, hence why I'm wearing a jacket. I'm not normally this formal on the Magical Learning Podcast, but that's okay. So Tracy's just got a new book out. I'm just going to hold it up for those viewers who watch. So Tracy Sheen has written this beautiful book, AI and You. And Tracy, let's start by, before we talk about the book, tell us a little bit about you and your journey.
Wow. Well, I was told that you only have an hour, so I'll try and give you the cliff notes. I started pulling apart electronic scales when I was like 5, 6 on the floor of my parents' workshop. So they were amongst the first in Australia to import electronic scales. So whenever you weigh your fruit and veg at a supermarket, that was my mum and dad, right through to big weigh bridges. So I grew up literally on the floor, pulling things apart and looking at these beautiful green boards with lots of silver lines going through them. And I just thought that they were the prettiest thing that I had ever seen. And then I was given a soldering iron. And you can't judge Danette because it was the 70s and, 5-year-olds were allowed to play with soldering irons at that point.
Yes.
And I learned that, if I soldered bits and cut bits, different things would happen. And I was just fascinated by what that meant. So little did I know that, little 5-year-old Tracy on the floor of a workshop, however many years later, Big Tracy is still playing with technology, just in a very, very different way.
I love that. And I did stained glass stuff at school, so love the soldering iron.
The
totally
smell, it's quite evocative, isn't it? There's certain smells that just bring your childhood back so quickly.
Yeah, I love that.
Lead petrol's probably another one, but that's not
we don't want that one.
thing that we don't need to go down there.
So tell us a little bit about, and I'm holding the book up again for those who need to have a look because it's a beautiful book. Tell us what prompted you to write this, because this is not your first book. This is your latest book about AI and you.
Overwhelm. That's quite simply what caused it. Right, I have been doing this for over 30 years and really the speed at which things are happening is just creating more and more overwhelm. I won't say people are scared. I won't say there's fear, although there is, a bit of that. It's just overwhelm. Like, oh my God, is this thing ever going to stop? And how do we keep up? And who do we trust? And what do we do? And it's just this constant, almost that shallow breathing, that anxiety of like, I just can't get my breath with this stuff. And people don't need to feel like that. So really what I recognized in writing the book is that it's a mindset to go from how we've always done things to the way that the world is moving and progressing. And if we can switch the mind, then everything becomes so much easier.
I love that. And what I love about your book, so some viewers and listeners might be thinking it's talking all about the latest AI tools, but in fact, what you've done is create this beautiful framework so that if I'm a solopreneur or I'm running a business, that I can actually approach AI in a really considered way. I was just teaching strategic finance skills right before this podcast. And what I loved about yours and what I actually commented to the audience I was teaching is, we need to have a good strategy around AI rather than that knee-jerk reaction to, oh, this looks good. And then people end up with shiny objectitis where they pick things, but then it may not actually work with what they're hoping to do. So I'd love for you to share your reimagine model and how that helps people to really consider AI with what they're doing.
Yeah, the concept for me really started by reflecting on the ocean. And you might wonder how that kind of links into AI, but I grew up in the Northern Rivers of New South Wales. So Bundjalung country is hometown for me. And as a kid, if you can imagine you spend any time around the water, you are immediately told that you need to sit and watch the waves before you go in. You need to understand what's going on. And why? Because we need to know where the rips are. We don't want to end up getting caught out to sea and wondering how to get back. And really, I just started to reflect upon that's exactly where we are with AI. People are spending so much time just leaping in because their mate has gone, Danette, this new AI stuff, you got to get on it. It's all about the AI. You've got to just do it. And so Danette jumps in, and then, 6 months later, she's 10K out to sea and 30K in debt and wondering what the hell happened. So I had this moment of we just need to sit back and actually look at what's coming and then figure out a way that we can give ourselves a framework, a really considered roadmap that we can walk through that allows us to remove that anxiety, that overwhelm, that shiny objectitis, and be, as you said, quite considered about it. So for me, then the word reimagine just kept coming up over and over and over again, because again, the way we've always done business is we're kind of, halfway across that bridge and the flames are licking at the back of our heels. I feel like everything is really changing. So I wanted it to be a word that would create this sense of, okay, this is different. This isn't just an evolution. This is a transformation. We can't go backwards. And reimagine for me is just a beautiful kind of okay, well, what do we want it to look like? It was quite an evocative word. But then once that, then everything kind of fell into place. So it's built around the word imagine, which anyone who does any kind of L&D will tell you that that's about 4 letters too many, because apparently it should be 3 or 5, but I'm an overachiever. You've got 9. So it starts with relationships, which is all about the humans. And then, for me, the human has to be at the center, around ethics, around transparency, around who are we doing this for and why. And then we gradually work our way through to putting a plan or a map in action, activating the plan, gathering data, and then right through to the end of that constant evolution of then moving back to the start and going around in a circle.
Love that. And I really love the fact that you talk ethics through the book as well around this. So, people are making good, considered decisions around this, including all your great examples. And some of them aren't AI specific, which I also love, just showing how we can do things well, or if we don't plan, some of the things that can cause hiccups for us as well. So fabulous, fabulous. Love, love, love your book. So tell us, because I'm sure some of the readers will want that cliff note about what's the key message around AI in your book?
Be curious is probably the main thing that I want you to take away. Curiosity and adaptability right now. I think of AI as a collaborator, not a competitor. So really important for me to come at all of this as though we're onboarding an intern. We're onboarding a new team member. We need to set that AI or that person up for success. So just because we've brought some AI on board doesn't mean that all of a sudden, we have a world-class business. We need to spend some time and again, be very considered about, okay, well, what is the gap that this is filling? Why are we putting this in place? And what do we want it to do? So if you imagine you've onboarded an intern or a new employee, the first day is always pretty much the same. Hi, Danette, let's show you around. Here's your policies, here's your procedures, here's the website. This is where you're going to sit. Here are your team members. Watch out for Karen in HR. She's a bit of but everyone else is lovely. The lunchroom's here, all the kind of stuff. That's basically your first day or your first week. There's a lot of that onboarding and bringing you into the culture and bringing you into the team and setting you up for success. And really that's the key message that I want to get across in the book is we need to be collaborators and considerate in how we look at transitioning or reimagining our business now. Set yourself up for success and set your tools up for the success alongside you.
And what I love about that, because the culture at the moment is often rush, do things fast. Again, that word considered that you just used is absolutely how you approach this. When I was reading through the chapters, I'm like, oh, I hadn't thought of it that way. I hadn't thought of it that way. So I love that idea of treat it like an intern. And, it's not just about the one person, it's around all of the team as well to make sure that
Absolutely.
it's set up for success. I love that. That's beautiful. So how can people who perhaps are maybe a little bit or a lot nervous actually start to embrace AI for their future?
You know, one of the best ways I've found is to do things that aren't related to your business at all.
I
So
love
play
that.
with
Good.
something that is non-threatening. So if you're concerned about how it's going to impact your business or how it could potentially impact your team or your clients and there's a bit of hesitation, then have a play with it in your home life, right? If you've got kids and they've got soccer and karate and football and netball and you're just like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what is going on, load up all of the schedules into ChatGPT and say, turn this into something I can understand. Or take a photo of what's in your fridge and load it into ChatGPT and say, what am I going to make for dinner? You know, start playing in areas where there is no immediate impact, good, bad, or otherwise, into your business. But if you can see the benefits in your own life, maybe it's writing. We did a workshop where a lady wrote a song for her daughter's 21st birthday, and her daughter was a huge Taylor Swift fan. So we said in the style of, you know, whatever song it was, I can't even remember. But then we put in, you know, her daughter loves to do this and, you know, hangs out with these people and works here and does this. And we turned it into a song that her dad was then going to karaoke for her for her 21st birthday. So no positive or negative impact on the business and a bit of fun, but really starts to kind of flex your muscle around that adaptability and curiosity of like, oh, what else can it do then? You know, like what happens if we turn that song into a Banjo Patterson poem? What happens if we, you know, turn that into a scavenger hunt to make a 21st even more exciting? Or, you know, just start having a play in an area where you feel completely unthreatened if it went completely pear-shaped. You know, it's not going to impact your clients, your team, or your business.
I love that too, because we obviously are an educational organisation, and that whole concept of fun makes it much easier because we're less fearful about if we make a mistake or something. And I love that idea of a song for a 21st or something. That's so cute. That's a great idea.
We're their Christmas story every year. So we just upload a few photos of what they've been doing through the year and, you know, what, like this year it's Paw Patrol, last year it was Bluey, you know, whatever it is, and turn it into their Christmas book every year. So, you know, they're going to have this little kind of very personalised memorabilia that they'll, you know, we'll build up for them over the next few years until they think it's incredibly uncool and grandma just stopped doing that. But I'm having a great time with it. You know, we make scavenger hunts for them when we see them. And so just those kinds of areas where it does allow you to be a little bit, gives you permission to have a bit of a play as opposed to feeling very like we've got to, you know, be concerned about the implications for our clients or just have some fun with it. And that's going to flex that curiosity muscle.
I love that. I love it. Love that, even that the idea of the book for the grandkids. That's gorgeous. Tell me a little bit, because we often interview authors and we're always really curious about, everyone has a specific process for their writing and it's often very different. So love to hear about your writing process, given this is your second book as well.
I really hope that my author coach does not listen to this because it is not at all what he told me to do. Initially, I have to get the concept out first. So I need to know, you know, who am I writing it for? What's the intention? Why would they invest time to read it? You know, what's the outcome that I want for them? I always need to know the person that I'm writing it for. So I always have a photo of a client or a girlfriend or someone that is the person that, okay, if Danette gets this, I've done my job, right? Because I know that that's, you know, doing exactly what it needs to do. So once I have all of that out of the way, sometimes it's writing in the margins. So, you know, I might have an hour, so I'll just go, I can write this bit. Or sometimes, like in this book, I had promised my publisher that I would have it to him on the 13th of January, and I have ADHD. So at Christmas, when I decided to close the business on the 17th of December or whatever it was to have a bit of a break, I went, I'm going to have a break until Christmas. And then Christmas became like the 27th or the 28th, and my husband went, so how's the book going? And I went, yep. and then smashed out 85,000 words or whatever it was in 2.5 weeks. And basically, didn't sleep, really didn't smell good for those couple of weeks. So I feel very bad for my husband. Kind of wandered around the house in some zombie kind of dream state of like, what day is it? Where am I? And he would just wind me up, ply me with coffee and kind of push me in a general direction, and I wasn't allowed to talk to him until I had submitted X amount of thousands of words for the day. But this book also was interesting because I actually wrote it like four or five times, and it was due to be submitted, oh gosh, March, where are we now, so March 2023, like end of 2023. And I wrote the first draft and I went, you know what, it's just not right. Like, I had 70,000 words or whatever. When you write, you just kind of know, and I think you've got to trust your gut. I was like, it's not something not. So then I tried again. I was like, try it again. And eventually a client said to me, you've taken me through a really distinct framework, right? Like, I can tell you exactly, we were here, you got me to here. And I'm like, really? What? And so we sat down and they helped me unpack that. And once I unpacked that, that was when I went, oh, that's Reimagine. And then bang, like I could write the whole thing in, 2 and a bit weeks or whatever it was. And Michael, my editor, was like, this is good. And I was like, okay, A, you shouldn't sound so surprised, and B, thank God, so that was kind of the process for this book.
I love that. And I love that your client helped by sort of reflecting back on you, how you'd taken them through that process. That's awesome.
Yeah.
What a great client.
And I needed it. I needed it because I was really struggling with it. I knew the outcome that I wanted for the reader, but I knew that it couldn't be a book about use this latest tool or here's this cool thing, because I may as well write it on papyrus, right? It would have been out of date like way before it even hit the editor. It was such a washing machine of angst of like, how do I get this out there? And I'm so grateful that, I listen, and it's a good reflection, actually listen to your damn clients. Funny when they reflect that stuff back on you, that you can go, oh, okay, that's cool, and then when you unpack it and you kind of see your work through their eyes, that you're able to go, okay, I guess after 30 years I kind of got something, huh? So it's funny.
I love that. So tell us, is there anything else you'd like to share with our listeners and our viewers? And here's a good time to promote your website, etc., because we're pretty sure that people would love to connect with you. Thanks, Tracy.
Sure. So I have a few websites, but if you Google Tracy Sheen, just think of Charlie Sheen, except we don't talk about him. He's the black sheep of the family. The digital guide. The book is AI and You, so you'll find that on aiandyou.com.au. Look, Smoke Signal, LinkedIn, wherever you're comfortable interacting, pretty much I'm there. What else do they want to know? Look, just stay curious. We're in such an interesting time, and you have such an amazing ability to jump on this stuff now, and we're still in that nice window where you can play, where you don't have to feel under pressure to be adopting and adapting into this stuff yet, but things are moving really quickly. So now is the time for you to just, shake off that, like, I don't really know, and just get in and start to have a bit of a play, and start simple, find something that's non-threatening. And then once you move across to the business, find the thing that's annoying you. If you've got something that bugs you, and I guarantee everybody listening to this has got, if I could fix that one thing, if I didn't have to do that one thing in my business, then I would be so much happier. I bet you got more than one, but pick one. Pick one, work through it. Don't try and do more than one. You're going to overwhelm. You won't do anything. Trust me, I've been there. I've done that. Don't fall for my stuff. Pick one thing, see it through, fail fast, fail often, fail forward, and move on.
That's great advice, Tracy. Actually, I've got one more question. What's something that has surprised you about AI?
I think the polarization that it's causing, I don't know that I saw, and I probably want to blame the media in a certain sense for that because, fear sells, but I don't like the division that it's starting to cause because I'm a bit woo-woo in the sense that I think we create the future that we want. So I'm still choosing to put the human at the center of everything and have belief that humanity will outweigh whatever could come. But I'm kind of surprised at the amount of, like the Terminator versus Star Trek. That's kind of how I feel like we're just becoming, either camp. And my concern is always where attention goes, energy flows, right? So if we put our attention on here comes Skynet, then we can't sit back and go, oh, I didn't see that coming. So should we not put our attention on how can this benefit the whole of humanity? How can this benefit my clients? How can this benefit my community? How can I leave a better legacy for my kids, my grandkids, or whatever? I think if we collectively choose to put our time, energy, and focus there, then that's what we'll create.
Thank you so much, Tracy. And remember, everyone, Tracy's book has just come out, AI and You. And we'd like to wish both you, Tracy, and all of our listeners and viewers a magical week.